Or do you know? If we're live and we're just chit chatting with you for a moment, we're trying to check if we're live, and we're all a bunch of dumbasses when it comes to this. So bear with us a minute. We'll find out. It'll actually start, and not nearly as late as last time. Maybe we're live.
Well, we're finding out.
So right now you get to just see us stare around like idiots. Apparently we weren't live. He's back if you want.
Oh, I was just gonna, if you want to hold on to it.
Yeah, we are.
What's that?
It says live. So we're live? You are live. Hello, we're only about 5 minutes late, which is a great big improvement from last week. You're here with the Reptile guys. So we'll do some introductions for who all's here. Obviously, I'm Matt from Olympus Reptiles. Somehow Kurt's face is in the screen even though he's not standing there.
It looks like it's like about a minute behind.
Apparently we're lagging a little bit. Who wants to introduce themselves next?
All right, I'm Colin from Classy Hertz here at Reptile World.
And I'm Dave here at Manhattan Reptile World, Dave Kronowski. We're going to start off with a little bit of natural history on ball pythons. We kind of want to get this one out of the way because ball pythons are so popular. This is a small species of python that's found sub-Saharan, kind of around Ghana and Togo and Benin on that western portion of Africa going on over. The genus is kind of a generic genus. It's Python regius is the genus species. And this is kind of your beginning evolutionary type of snake. Like these things will cross with other pythons that don't even have the same genus. So they're like your most generic python snake on the planet. Their bodies are built almost perfectly for hunting exclusively rodents. They have one of the quickest strike and wrap ratios of any snake on the planet. Their body is really back weighted, so a lot of their bulk and weight is in the back. And then they have the skinny neck and large head for making a quick strike and having the counterweight that allows for a quick recoil. So it's kind of a generic snake. They only get about 3.5 to 4.5 feet. This species, a lot of communities in Africa actually farm these. They're found around a lot of agricultural land. No, I'm fine. Because they feed off the rodents and stuff. So entire communities will actually go out and harvest the eggs from these and put them in kind of a community pit. And then each year when they hatch, they'll ship them out. So whole communities depend on the it's kind of like farming practices of ball pythons in some of those Western African countries. So I'm going to, as these guys are talking about the different morphs and mutations, I'm kind of poke in and out, and I'll bring some, snakes in here for you guys to see, all right?
Also, one quick thing is you can't call us just yet because the guy who has the phone is late. He's the same guy that made us start late last time. You made me remember him. He's kind of bald, heavy set. Usually Dave refers to him as a jamoke. He just kind of looks like Jabba the Hutt sitting here half the time. And we're kind of pissed at him. So we're going to pick on him today for being late twice in a row because he can't read a clock because he's a friggin' moron. But moving on, the first snake we're going to show you is this right here. And if I remember correctly, Colin, you said this is a ghost spider butter. Mojave.
Yeah, it is. And I just kind of wanted to get started with the butter Mojave kind of project stuff because it's one of my favorite projects because it just blends so well with so many other different genes that are out there right now. And a lot of people wonder how you go from seeing a snake like this, which is a standard butter. There's another one very similar, Mojave. It's a little bit darker brown. They work in the same way though. It's an incomplete dominant gene, and so this is what the heterozygous version looks like when it only has one gene of that butter or Mojave. But if you breed two of these together, the homozygous version is dramatically different, and that's how you end up with a python that is solid white like this with blue eyes. And personally, this is my favorite out of all of the ball python.
Matt is here.
And
Hey,
Vince is here.
Everybody, hold on. We want to cheer and a clap because the guy with the phone is finally here. Finally. So everybody say, yay, Vince made
I
it.
thought you were having back spasms.
I am, but I can sit and still do this. I just can't run around.
Come on,
See,
Come
I'm
on,
on
picture.
time with back spasms. Vince
Wait,
is
I'm
late
not
for
in the
now.
picture. I thought I was.
It's
Get going in there.
This is our fat monosyllabic friend, Vince.
Monosyllabic this.
Oh, God. This is now not
Wait,
family
let's see
show.
the depth of the
Oh,
finger.
that's
Let's-
terrible. It's like a minute behind.
Oh, it's a minute behind.
But that's going to be live for everybody to see. Congratulations.
Oh,
This is return to the Dixie D, apparently. One thing about this gene, too, is now let's just catch up with this terrible. Is it's a complex. So there are several genes that play that'll work to make that white snake. One, you could take this Mojave and breed it to that butter, and you could end up with a white snake. You throw Mojave in, usually the head grays a little bit, so you can identify that bell. When we say bell, we're talking about a blue-eyed leucistic, which is what that is. That it has Mojave by the gray head. You can also use a Russo to make a bell. So whether you're using butter or lesser, which is a different line of the same animal, Russo or Mojave, any of those can make, I think Kevin referred to it as acts like a super. That's probably the best way to talk about it, because if you breed that bell, which kind of bell you pulling out now?
I think that was, that one that I had out actually was the ivory.
Oh, the ivory?
I just had them in there
So
together.
we've got a bell now. We
Yeah.
could take a bell that's, say, a super lesser, which is a complete homozygous lesser, breed it and make all lessers. Now, if we had a bell that was made by making a lesser Russo, and we bred that, it would act like a super in that it would produce no normals, but it would produce lessers and Russos. However, anything that acts like a super or a super can never reproduce itself by itself. So you can't breed a bell to a normal and get more bells. You'll get the parts that made it a bell. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it explained pretty well, because it gets kind of confusing when you talk genetics.
Basically, if you were to breed this this homozygous animal to a normal, 100% of the babies would all look like this, because the genes that make up it will divide out with the normals, and each baby will just get one, making them all heterozygous, and the phenotype looking like this instead of like this. So they make a really powerhouse of a breeder, because this animal cannot produce a normal snake, no matter what it's bred to. And so that makes them pretty valuable.
And when it comes to normals, as a breeder, we try to produce as few of those as possible. And it's not because we don't like normals, but there's so many that are going to come in from Africa that we can't, I don't want to say make money, because none of us make that much money, but we can't really support ourselves, even run our hobby, producing just normals. So the goal is to produce morphs and combinations, which we can do by using that. Hey Kurt, quick question. Why is there a red dot where it says live? Are we still live, or are we having problems? It says
Yeah.
video output low,
Yeah, it's just
slow internet.
but we're still doing all right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Did we get that thing running?
I think so.
All right. That means we can now take live calls. Vince, what's that number?
785-317-3344.
So if you have a question, whether it's about ball python morphs or Vince's belly and the depth of his belly button, please feel free to give us a call, and we'll repeat that number several times throughout the day.
So one thing that I wanted to jump in with about biology and genetics is they're only recently discovering the amount of reliance on genetic and geographic variability. So what that means is how important and how what type of genetic movement occurs within a singular species over a geographic area. So the fact of the matter is, just because one species is very successful and it covers a large area, it has the potential to have a good high level of genetic variability. So, for example, like these guys, they cover a fairly large area, portion of Africa, but they have a simple reproductive ability. So there's a good variety available.
Well, what's also interesting about ball pythons is it really didn't start out as the pet trade. These things were collected in Africa and offered up as what is commonly called bushmeat. So they would skin the animal, offer the dried meat for sale in local markets, and you know that would actually kill off populations of ball pythons, and it was very taxing on the wild populations until they figured out that there was a pet market for ball pythons. Their collecting processes were mainly just to kill and sell as bushmeat. But once they started finding some of these interesting mutations and stuff, they actually built a market, and you know they were a little bit ignorant to begin with when they were selling some of these mutations off, because people were getting a hold of some of these mutations cheap and selling them very expensively in the United States. But a few people, you know, started to figure out what Americans and Europeans were selling these expensive morphs for, and so they started to hold back and collect and keep some of these interesting mutations in Africa, and then that's when the ball python market really exploded, because you know, they were holding stuff back, hiding what they had, plotting to have people have bidding wars on getting what they thought was the only one of that mutation, when in actuality there were actually a whole bunch of them out there. And you know, so they were kind of pulling a fast one on whatever would-be investors there were in Europe and Africa.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me in some third world countries people tried to scam us?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen at all.
To add on to what he was saying there, this is just a standard albino, and these were one of the very first, if not the first, ball python mutations that kind of came into the
Here's
market.
what's called a wild type ball python.
And this is basically, you'll hear them called normals too. And if we're going to talk about ball pythons, this is really the starting point, because this is what they're supposed to look like. So when we go pulling out all these different genetics that we're showing you, like the albino that Colin's got in his hand now, or that lesser Mojave spider, or sorry, Mojave ghost spider, or the lesser, or the bell, it all comes from right here. And the only thing that's really changing is just the skin and the color of that animal, but it makes a huge difference in the beauty of it, which affects the price along with the rarity. But this is what really kicked it all off. This is your basic standard ball python.
Well, what are some of the other morphs, Dave, that have actual physical problems that result from them? Besides from the spider.
You know, you got three different basic, what is represented in ball pythons. You have three different forms of inheritance. You've got simple recessive, incomplete dominant, and dominant. Your incomplete dominant functions on the same kind of level as simple recessive, except for the heterozygous animals are actually visual. Grab that albino female along with this one. So here are two, and albino is not even really a good term. Amelanistic type 1, I guess, would be the appropriate term. Amelanism means they can't produce melanin. So this is a normal albino ball python. And you can see the difference. You know, there's this high contrast between the white, where the melanin would normally exist, and the yellow right here. This is an inchy. Inchy kind of fades the lines, so you can see this snake looks much more orange and less contrasting than this snake here. And what Vince was talking about is there's some mutations that you'll see physical issues with. So, for example, if you breed two cinnamons together, you'll get a super cinnamon, and you'll start to see some duck billing in that cross.
Those have some spine kinks as well. They're prone
Now,
to.
sometimes you see spine kinks and caramels, and I think that's just because people inbreed them to get the caramel. You know, and I think it's an incubation issue, some sort of reaction with the caramels and what temperature they're incubated. I think if you incubate them at lower temperatures, you see less kinking. I don't know. That has to be worked out a little bit more. I think with any simple recessive mutation, you have to outbreed them a lot to get rid of a lot of genetic problems that occur with that. And that's not how the race works. The race is produce it as quick as you can, and so people will inbreed often and that heightens the chance for different problems with certain mutations. So, for example, a lot of people are shitting bricks about the scaleless head. Did you bring that scaleless head out here?
Yeah. I just wanted to say, like the albino, it has the same pattern as a normal. The only thing that's different that is the color.
Yeah,
And then,
it's missing entire ZNAs and melanin.
Yeah.
So this is a T negative albino.
There's kind of two different kinds of mutations. There's color mutations and pattern mutations. And there's some that do both, but yeah.
You also have to be careful with certain mutations while we're on it. That can be, you may not see a physical appearance issue, but they have breeding issues when paired together. It's like spider to champagnes, a no-no. Champagne to champagnes, no-no. They cause dead babies. So you also have to know what you're breeding together before you start putting it together.
This is kind of hard to see, but this is a scaleless head ball python or a het for scaleless. And if you look, you can kind of see that it's missing the scales on the front of its head there. All right, when you breed two of these together, you should produce a completely scaleless ball python. And I think so far to date, the ones that have been produced have maybe died or didn't fare too well. But at the same time, that doesn't bother me. I just think this gene needs to be outbred more, and you'll start to see some of those issues disappear. So I don't really get too bothered about, what people think is, a lethal gene and they want to get out of it. I think if you just keep working with it, and it's hard. I know you want to make as much money as you possibly can, as quick as you can when you're investing stuff like this. But I think if you stick with some of those genes, the payoff's just as good. So.
Yeah, he seems basically a normal except for the scales on its head, and so this is the first of a new kind of morph that has never really been seen. It's an actual physical mutation instead of just color or pattern mutation. So this is kind of the next level of ball pythons, I think.
Which is pretty cool if you think about it. And last I knew, I think BHB was the first to produce actual scaleless.
Yeah.
And he produced two of them in the first clutch that he did. And I did hear that one passed. I think one is still alive and doing well.
Yeah.
What?
And it's
So-
like 2 years old now.
Yeah.
It eats great. He's posted videos of that.
And so I think you're going to start seeing some more actual scaleless and scaleless combos, which is really exciting because when you strip the scales off the snake,
It's crazy what it does.
Yeah,
It's
it's already brighter. So think about just even a pastel scaleless.
Oh yeah.
It's going to scream.
It's going to be the next generation because, in my opinion, it's kind of like almost a
you know it.
domesticated snake in the way that it takes the wild out of it in a way that you can keep that. It's different.
I'm excited about the colors.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think about a firefly
this
scaleless.
is why I got to
So,
get
like,
here early
cool.
because ball pythons are going to be the default subject all the time now.
This
No.
is actually the first time we've talked about them. Vince. The last time we didn't talk about a
No,
single
we
ball
agreed to
python.
talk about them last time.
No, we're
Jeez.
gonna.
I'm down with talking
Jeez.
about them.
All right.
Jeez. Vince is complaining because 8 o'clock is apparently past his bedtime.
No,
These
because
are
he hates
these
ball
are
pythons.
copulating. All right. So I just wanted to show
We got
this.
some snake
These are currently copulating. This is a butter Hetfer clown and a clown female. As you can see, they're
You can
They're
talk ball
paired up.
pythons to death.
right here,
Well, we'll do other things.
and
I need to get this stuff.
he's been courting her for a couple days, and finally he got a lock. This is about the 10th time this pairing has occurred, so we should see quite a few eggs from this pairing. But I just wanted to show it because it just happened to be breeding in there. These guys are always breeding, so it's actually pretty easy to catch them in the process. But not everybody's seen snakes.
We'll see.
Snakes have what's called a cloacal aperture at the end, and that cloacal aperture is just a fancy word for an opening. But the cloaca contains whatever their excremental where they poop and pee, and also it's got their sex organs located in there. but the snakes have two penises. They're called hemipenises, and they can breed on either side of the female. Instead of an ejaculation or anything, they have semen builds up in the hemipenes, up what's called a seminal groove, and it's not terribly exciting. So it's kind of a long process, and the male will just kind of push that semen that's in the seminal groove up in there, and then sit and wait, and court, so that he can make sure that that female is receiving his genetics. So I just wanted to show that real quick, and I'll let them get back to talking.
Well, talking about snake breeding in general, actually part of the thing that has ball pythons and in their morphs retain value is how hard it is to get them to breed comparably to some other snakes.
It's an art.
See, now I'm confused by that because I've probably been breeding the least amount of time with people here.
Yeah.
I've kept snakes a long time, but I only started breeding the last several years. And basically, I just put on some candles, some very white snakes bang.
You
It's
put
not
two
rocket
horny
science.
corn snakes together in a tub,
Yeah.
you won't be able to sleep at night because they'll be banging across the tub. They'll go.
They straight
right at
up
it.
come all over the walls. It's disgusting.
Kurt,
They
we had a problem getting snakes to breed.
No.
We haven't had any problem. I mean, we had out of the
No,
breeding
and it's not a problem, but it's something that you have to be like, you have to lift the sheet. Okay, you guys aren't doing it yet. Okay, he's courting her. Okay, he's this. You throw two horny colubrids together, and they don't even wait for you. They just start doing it right in front
Yeah,
of you.
they might not even get pregnant because he just comes on the wall. Like he misses the target completely.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I'll
they're-
say with ball
they're
pythons
disgusting.
is I have had a few males that were a little shy at first, kind of like dropping a 17. Well, in this day and age, dropping a 14-year-old off in a cheap whorehouse. They may not know what to do just yet. And there's a few tricks to that. One is you can take a shed from a different male that you've had as a successful breeder and throw that shed in there, and hopefully that scent kind of gets it going. If you don't want to do that and that doesn't work, this is really disgusting. But you can pop the male, a different male, one that's a proven breeder, invert that hemipene, get that sperm plug that'll usually be there on your thumb, and wipe it on the back of the female, and then put the male you want to breed in there. And again, you're hoping he'll smell that other male in there and try to, because they're going to try to pass on their genetics. They're driven to do that. So you're trying to convince him to do that.
It's all hormone.
Last resort is I'll put two males together, but you got to watch that because you don't really want them to combat. Then put them together for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then pull the one out that you don't want to breed, and leave that young virgin male in there. And again, you're trying to spur that natural instinct of, I better get this breed in before that big guy comes back. Kind of like the guy who's sneaking out the window of your house when you come home and your wife's cheating on you. Is that guy is what you're trying to get him to be at that point. Hopefully none of you have that problem.
One of the snakes that are very popular and up and coming, you'll see a lot of high morphs coming out of them. Hopefully, we'll see once they spread out their genetics more, is hognose snakes, colubrid hognose snakes. Now that is a snake I bring up because that is a snake, when you have virgin males and you don't really have a lot of experience with them, that you can find a lot of danger in. The males may be eager, but the size ratio is off a lot on those, and that's a very frustrating snake to try to breed. Because the males are a pretty eager colubrid, but they don't always fit.
It'll be interesting to see what hognose does in the hobby. There's a lot of cool stuff with hognose. We're a little off topic on hogs, but that's okay. This is a live
I
show.
know,
We want. But with hognose, what I'm really curious about is how many of these cities are going to take the stance that is technically a venomous snake. You can't keep it. We've already seen
Almost none.
I've seen it.
Well,
places already.
my theory is that, and from what I saw here in Kansas, and then what I seen in Illinois, is it depends on how hip people are to recognizing that if they say, "Oh, this is a special animal to our state," "Oh, this is a special animal to our area," what they're going to do is, and what my theory, especially in some of the more fringe states that tried to do it, is try to get federal funding on it. So, oh, it's found in 2 counties in our state. Oh, better call the government for that money to get that endangered species money or protected status. No, you can't sell it here. Never mind, it's glowing orange. You know,
Right.
and part of that is more concerned with bureaucracy than it is with
Well,
the actual viability of the snake. Or
my concern is the standard operating ordinances that every city tends to adopt, because there's like a cut and dried one you can just go get and the city can adopt.
Mhm.
Specifically states rear fang venomous. So then you get into the argument of hogs: are they venomous or are they not?
well, that's actually for the majority of municipalities across the country. Ignorance just is so high to begin with and reigns
Right.
supreme. So, like for example, here in Kansas, they still list poisonous snakes.
Well, that's because they use that boilerplate law, and that
Yeah.
boilerplate law says poison. So that's going to be an issue.
Well, but that's
almost
an
anywhere in the
example.
nation.
That's an
Right.
applicable thing that happens all over. And they'll say, and for example, like when you fill out the pet shop application here in Kansas, snakes are not on there with reptiles. They say reptiles, and then they'll list 2 or 3 other reptiles because they don't know that those animals are reptiles. You know, so as each state comes to deal with some aspect of the industry, hopefully there will be some industry expert that'll stand up and be like, no, you need to do this, this, and this.
I can just see some towns fighting hognose. That's my only concern.
Oh,
In the counties, knock yourself out, but in the city, be very careful.
Well, and I think that's how Kansas works in general. At least is Kansas. You know, the counties they kind of get together as they need to, whatever. But then the cities, they are a little more intimate with one another, and so they get a little more uptight.
Right.
Just
And the
naturally.
state law for Kansas, where we're at, would have no issue with the hognose,
No.
because even if you call that a venomous reptile, and when we say venomous, I don't want you freaking out thinking your hognose is going to bite you and you're going to die. That's not going to happen. They have a really crappy venom delivery system because of fix your fang. But if you sit there and you let that hognose chew on you for a few minutes and get them into you, it can inject the venom, which some people do react to, and it's going to swell up. Like I've seen some pictures of pretty good swelling, and that's it. Doesn't require hospital visits.
Well,
It's-
you know, just puncturing
you know.
the skin can cause swelling.
Right, but not like
Yeah.
not like what we're seeing with that.
Yeah.
But you literally, to get that to happen, have to say, "Oh, my hognose is chewing on me. I'm going to let it keep doing that,"
Yeah.
and be a special kind, person to allow that to happen. So they're not lethal. They can't kill you. They're not going to send you to the hospital. They're not like the diamondback we pulled out last week that will rot your hand off. It's nothing like that with the hognose. So we talk about venom and hognose. I want to be clear. There's a difference between venomous and dangerous. The garter snakes you find in your yard are technically venomous. They have a venom. It's a rear fang fix fact.
The
Look at me like I'm crazy.
miliphids, yeah, no, I
But
mean
it's like a bee sting. If a
There's
garter
a lot of
snake
debate
could get a
about
fang in you, it's like getting stung by a bee. So it's not. But is it technically a specialized saliva? That's yes. So it is technically a venomous snake. State law in Kansas says if you don't live in the city and you're just out in the county, you can keep any native species of venomous snake, up to 5. You can't sell them though. So hognose would count because they're native to Kansas and they're venomous.
Mhm.
So if you're outside the city limits, you're golden. But if you're in the city, definitely check your local laws because you don't want to be the guy.
the long and the short of it is that I think a big problem
Give me
is
my fingers back.
that it's easy for animal advocates or industry advocates to advocate for, say, dogs. You know, for example, pit bulls. There's a lot of ignorance and drama around pit bulls, and people try to do specific things. But it's about a single species with a known quantity that people can argue against. Reptiles are a lot more complex, and for that matter, like we did last week, attach spiders onto that, or scorpions. There are a number of variety of things and there's a number of levels too. I was discussing this today with somebody. There are people that will love their snake like it is a newborn puppy, and then there are people who will catalog that animal, give it a number, and never look at it except when they have to clean its shit. So it has a huge spectrum and huge variety of what people care for and do. And that is going to play a huge variable in the way legislation and things like that. I'm just happy that I broke up the conversation about ball pythons because I hate them.
We're going to go right back to it. What do we got in the box, Colin?
But I just wanted to say one thing about hognose, like just.
No, we're not going back to it.
I just wanted to
No,
say
go ahead.
like,
Let's do the shit.
that there's a difference between like the hognose and the rattlesnakes, what their fangs were evolved to do.
Yes.
You know, a hognose was meant to like small animals to help them get them into the mouth and pop little things that they can swallow better. While rattlesnakes are used to kill prey.
Exactly.
There's a big difference
Basic.
in the function.
That hognose will grab it, get those fangs in there, and that little bit of venom it has helps to subdue whatever it is they're eating to make it easier to swallow.
It is venom, but they don't use it for the same reasons.
My favorite thing in the world is to watch hognose eat sideways. They're one of the few snakes that I've seen just eat so aggressively. They turn.
chew.
They don't care.
They,
They,
like,
don't
go
care
side
what way
side
it goes
chew.
down, and they'll actually
Yeah.
eat it at a 90-degree angle.
We will do an episode on hognose.
Well,
There's some
it's
really
not
cool-
about hognose.
course.
What I do want to bring up though
Well,
is
can you
why
sense-
I don't like ball pythons.
and carpet pythons.
My disagreement with.
Oh,
Yep.
we have a caller. We have a caller.
Well, let's make sure now. Caller, put you on speaker here.
Don't put him on speaker. You should connect to that. Did you not connect?
Hello? Hi, what can we do for you tonight?
Hold on. We got to get you connected up. Hold on a second. Turn your Bluetooth on, Vince.
My Bluetooth is on.
We'll take it off speaker so we can connect back. So that way people can hear it home. Are you connected?
I think I am.
Again, technical difficulties. Bear with us. Pull that little Bluetooth thing.
I got it. Sorry, we'll be with you in
1 second, caller.
second.
1 second.
We're
Where's your Bluetooth?
Huey Boom.
UE boom. Okay. Are you still have it on speaker? You can't have it on speaker.
Hold on. Let me make sure
Yep.
it's scanning for available devices.
Well, it's got it right there.
I know, but I had a UE Boom in here before too, so I'm making sure it's not.
Same one.
Okay, now it's off speaker.
Are you with this caller?
Yeah, I'm here. How
There we
y'all?
go. So now we can hear you. So, caller, what's going on today?
I gotta sit
Hey.
down here because my back is bad too.
Hey y'all.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing pretty good. So who we talking to tonight?
My name is Diamond. I'm a dancer. I had some questions for y'all.
You're a dancer. Okay, Diamond. What questions do you got?
All right. Well, I'm a dancer, like I said, at the Dixie D down here in southern Georgia.
I do like the Dixie D, from what I've heard of it.
Vince is already a fan.
I've
Oh, really?
been tracking y'all online.
Oh, Vince, you gonna come see me sometime?
We'll see.
All right. Well, I just had a few questions. As you know, while I dance with my Burmese python.
Yes,
His
ma'am.
name is Diesel,
Yeah.
and we're known as the Double D at Dixie D.
Very cool.
And the question I had, well, I'm concerned that while I'm dancing, my snake is exploring places. I mean, I'm just wondering if Diesel doing his exploring could be the cause of an odd odor and itchy rash that has developed down there. Do y'all know what I mean by down there?
Yeah.
I think we get the picture.
I think we can figure that one out.
Vince, you want to handle that?
Well, you know, Burmese pythons in particular, well, all large snakes, have an instinct to hold on and get a good grip. And part of
Oh yeah, he's got good grip.
part of using their tail, their lower extremity, to get a good grip is anchoring it, much like dogs. Well, not much like dogs, actually different from dogs, but just kind of naturally into that area, you know, by default. Dogs are at crotch level, and when you're holding a big snake, its tail comes in there at crotch level.
Well, she knows the snake's going in there, but her curiosity is could that
Oh
cause
yeah, I do.
that rash and
Well-
that smell. You said there was an odor. Is that correct, Colin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on your
Yeah,
husbandry.
there's a pretty horrible odor. Actually, my best customer, Bobby Joe, he likes to come in and see me, and he likes the wings here. He actually made a comment, and
Yeah,
I
well,
can't be losing customers due to this, issue I have going on.
well, we just wanted to make sure that the glitter wasn't hurting the snake before, and he seemed pretty concerned about that, which is good on him. Now, The matter really, in the end, boils down to husbandry. I prefer vinegar in both accounts for cleaning the habitat. So now you have to thoroughly
I never
clean the
thought about
habitat.
vinegar, like apple cider vinegar.
No, I'd use white vinegar, good old-fashioned white vinegar with a bottle,
So
a bottle that will shoot a solid, heavy stream into the habitat.
what habitat are you talking about here, Vince?
Both habitats.
What do you mean by both habitats?
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Are we still talking about down there?
Yes,
Oh, so your recommendation is for her to shoot vinegar down there?
a good, solid, steady stream of vinegar in both habitats.
Okay.
Is there a certain kind of bottle I should be using? I mean, I ain't ever heard of a bottle like that.
Well, they got a special name for it. It's French. It's the French word for shower.
Could you go ahead and spell that for us?
It's DUCE with a little I don't know,
What you call a little thing over it?
accent mark on it there. You get you
Is it-
yourself on the
Do you
interweb.
pronounce that? Do you pronounce that Douche?
Douche, yes.
Touche.
With an
Right.
on the interweb, get yourself on there, and ironically, you're going to need to do it in the shower. So you can clean the snake's enclosure and yourself all at once in the shower.
Is that going to take care of the itchy red rash you mentioned? Or
Yeah.
just the smell?
Both.
Both?
Vinegar is pretty potent stuff.
Because, I don't know about... I'd be a little more concerned about that itchy red rash. Does it come and go?
I mean, I've had it for a while now. I don't know exactly how long because it's been a while since I've done my own exploring. These will pretty much take care of that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's habitat of the workplace, hazard of the workplace, I'd imagine.
Could very well be.
I'd say that the best plan is to maybe get yourself a job at one of them more conservative places, where they make you wear the underwear.
You want her to change her job?
Well, no, just like a hiatus or down to the minor leagues. Yeah, take a little bit break, go down to the minor leagues where they still make you wear underwear. Go down there a little while after you've cleaned up with the douche. Give it a little time and see how it works.
Oh, I Colin, that might be solid advice. I don't know. Apparently, Vince is more educated in the douches than I am. I'm just going to leave that alone for y'all to digest why. Anything else we can help you with, caller?
I think that's all. But Vince, do you think you'll be able to make it down? Come see me. I know you sound pretty interested.
Well, it depends on how many of these damn ball pythons we sell.
Well, I hope you sell a whole bunch.
I think she likes you, Vince.
Oh, I do like ladies that have athletic abilities.
Well, I'm sure she does.
Oh yeah, I can fit both my feet behind my head.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Whoa! Holy cow! It's getting good in here now.
Well, that's just a accurate description. I was going to ask you, what's the size of the habitat? Is it a 40-gallon habitat? 10-gallon habitat?
I'm done.
Oh my!
Dave's done. Dave's very squeamish sometimes.
All right, caller. Hopefully that helps. If you want to call back in a few weeks and let us know if Vince's douche advice worked, we'd appreciate it. We appreciate your call, and we will talk to you later.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for taking my call. Y'all have a great night.
You too.
Oh, you too. You too.
Mhm.
Well, guys, that was fun. I think Vince has a new girlfriend that he hasn't met yet. It's a good thing his wife wasn't here to hear
Yeah.
that. Woo!
Yeah.
Gonna go down to see Diesel and Diamond at the Dixie D.
Maybe right after that.
That's that douche.
Maybe right after that, Repticon Atlanta.
Back to Repticon Atlanta.
Oh my! And now back a little bit on Vince's favorite topic. ball
Well,
pythons.
no, I did want to make one relevant point to ball pythons.
Please do.
And part of that is got to do with how I think there has been a good contraction in the ball python market. Everybody's scared about contractions in livestock markets with reptiles especially. But this last year, the last fall season, when we went to a number of national shows, I saw less of a focus on ball pythons and a little bit more focus on some of the niche things, a little bit more morphology with some of the trickier animals, some returns to the dwarf monitors, for example, dwarf monitors being on tables.
Specialized gecko tables.
Specialized geckos.
Those
tables
almost
coming
went
back.
away. You know,
Yeah, they almost went away.
there's so many
Cresties.
damn geckos. Not cresties. Cresties are an
Not
exploited market as well.
Yeah, they're
No, we're talking like
rare Australian shit.
rare hemidactylus geckos. You know, like these little obscure brown geckos.
Plus, there's been a little bit of expansion in morphology with varanids, like albinos, breaking into the varanid market a little bit. But that contraction in the ball python market was kind of welcomed. But at the same time, you don't want the market to crash. You know, people logically are invested in it. You want it to produce some new cool stuff.
You know, as we talk about the ball python market, one of the things I first got into breeding ball pythons I heard was, oh, the market's dead. Doom and gloom, the market's dead. Ball python market sucks. Woe is me. I'm losing everything.
When I hear that, I'm glad
Yeah.
because then you're gone.
And I'll tell you,
You're
too.
just a competitor as far as I'm concerned. So when you want to get out, I'm okay with that. You can poo-poo on my market all you want.
Yeah, the market's not dead. Now, the days of hitting that, $75,000 right away big payoff, those are pretty well gone. I would say a lot of ways.
They may be,
But even the Scaleless project,
That's
They've got those sunsets now that are bringing a lot of money.
Yeah,
you know what I
that's
think
recessive.
the next revolutionary thing is going to be clear snakes.
clear snakes.
Yeah, when somebody pulls out a ball python, probably through the scaleless of all things, and you can look in there and see those guts like a glass frog.
Maybe
Oh,
a Scaleless
gross.
Bell.
Yeah, we'll see.
Scaleless Bell might be able to do that.
You can already do that with snow corns if you hold them up to the light.
I mean, it's only basically talking about it.
Yeah, tracking. But you got to hold them up to the light. I'm talking crystal clear. I want to.
Are there any morphs we haven't brought out here? What have we brought
How
out?
about some nanners? Can I get some nanners?
Yeah, I got
Those-
some
Well,
nanners.
he's getting some nanners. I'll show you this pin. This pinstripe was another morph that's. These guys have been around a long time. I mean, you kind of hit albinos, spiders, pins, pastels. That's some of the big early morphs. But it's more of a color and pattern morph. As you can see, the color is different, and you get this pattern. The best description I've heard is it looks like your snake's dressed up like Al Capone. And you just get this really, really crazy reduction with
What?
these
Your
slides
snake's
right there.
dressed up like Al Capone?
It's got pinstripes, like a pinstripe sleeve.
Oh my God, that's got.
Vince is
Who looks at that and thinks that that's Al Capone?
because of pinstripe pattern on his suit.
It's just a coincidence that the two things. What it really more looks like is like shadow.
Shadow?
If you make a fist and you look at the shadow of the lines in your hand,
What the
that's
fuck are you
more
talking
akin to
about?
pinstripe.
If we ever make a ball python that big, we'll name the morph Vince's penis. That's what we'll name it.
It's got to be 3 different colors. So
I wanted to show her.
I do have a beautiful tricolor.
This is what a ball python
and it's
looks
detachable
like
too.
when they're fully pregnant, like about to lay eggs. So you can see how.
Yeah,
this
she's
this is a
right
3
there.
gene, and actually it's kind of 4 gene because it's het for Xanthic. But this is a Inchy butter. What's the other thing in
I
there?
don't know. You pulled it out. I
Oh,
can see itchy butter.
vanilla, itchy butter, vanilla, het for Snakekeeper Xanthic. And so we got a whole bunch of genes that are cleaning stuff up here. And if we add the Xanthic in there, make it look like a photo negative, it'll look really cool.
What Xanthic does is it kills all yellow pigment, and it's a recessive gene.
Yep.
So imagine this snake if you pulled all the yellow pigment out. It would look badass.
Xanthic's like an albino, or what we call an albino. What we call an albino is actually called amelanistic. Xanthic is the same kind of idea as an albino, is it can't produce xanthrophores, which are the yellow pigments in a snake. There's basically, 3 different pigments a snake can produce. You have different forms of melanin, different forms of xanthrophores, and different types of anthrophores.
I'm not the
I-
biologist.
so
that's-
You're the biologist.
That's like red pigment.
Yeah.
But so red, yellows, and blacks. There's probably a few exceptions to the rule that when you start getting into some of those blues and greens, I'm not sure what pigments are being taken advantage of there. But here's a pile of bananas.
a pile of bananas.
Pile of
So
bananas.
I'll take this, and you can pull one banana over at a time.
One
That's
banana, two banana, three banana, four.
6 foot. Yeah.
Spider banana.
Yeah. I'll
So
go
the spider banana. Then this is actually a pinstripe pastel banana, but I'll let him get to that.
Now, spider and banana. And then, well, here's something. You talk about spider wobble. Watch this guy. See that Stevie Wonder head movement? Sorry if I offended any blind people just now. I do apologize. You're not watching this anyway because you can't see it. See?
Hey, we are pretty. We're worth listening to.
We're worth listening to.
We're worth the
But-
data to listen to.
You'll hear people talk about spider wobble, and that is a pretty good example of it right there. Is they kind of get goofy, especially when they're out. What this is
They're
a,
like weebles. They're like weeble people. They wobble, but they don't fall down.
this is a spider banana. So again, it's a combination. And what's really cool about the banana is the colors it produces. I think Vince has got a regular banana right here. And that's an adult. So they have this really cool yellow, this lavender. They start getting all these little black spots on them, which is, again, probably where the name banana came from. You'll also hear them called Coral Glow. It's another line, Coral Glow banana. It's like lesser and butter. Another line, different name. But when you pair that with this spider, I think it looks really good. And I don't think banana goes with everything very well, but it does spider.
We'll
Because
see.
you get these patterns still with this little bit of lavender in it. And man, as babies, these things glow.
What I think was exciting when bananas came out was that you had this pretty obvious. I mean, there had been other things, but you had at the time this pretty obvious color pattern combo.
Yeah.
You know that you
Remember the
have
clown banana? That thing was sick.
clown bananas. You know, where you're taking that color and you're mixing it with the right pattern morph. Because that's really where the only value left in bananas is. You know, they burned out so fast
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you have to innovate with them. You know, like I personally love blackhead ball pythons. Love what Reed Benoist does with blackheads.
That's tall grass reptiles.
Banging the gooch.
Banging the gooch.
Tall grass reptiles. He's produced some amazing blackhead ball pythons, and he produced I think it was a black-headed clown that was amazing.
And we talk about banana flaming out so fast. Banana is one of those snakes that, as cool as they look, are single-handedly responsible for all those naysayers we were talking about. Because whenever camera guy Kurt and I first started getting into this and decided we wanted to breed, not just keep a few snakes and have some reptiles and be crazy like that, these guys were going for about 10 grand. And that was down from originally about 75 grand when they first hit the market, weren't they?
When those things were like 10 grand, these were $2,000. This is a blackhead ball python, kind of a subtle gene, but as those dropped down to $300, these were still $1,000. So
Right.
it just kind of depends, you know, how many people are producing them. We have this blackhead, which Vince was talking about before, and our buddy Reed Bangosh from Tall Grass Reptiles.
We're gonna
He actually works quite a bit with this gene. He kind of proved out that spider blackhead cancellation, which was pretty cool. This one happens to be het for pied, and she's pregnant right now, you can see. So hopefully we'll produce blackhead piebalds, which should be pretty neat.
Yeah,
Might be another
a lot
path.
of black intensity.
Might be another path to that all black and white snake like the panda pied. This will be her second clutch.
Yeah, dark morphs are kind of an interesting thing because I
They
I
seem to be
equate
kind of xenopeltic, don't they? All the dark morphs are a little bit xenopeltic.
yeah, you get a little
So
bit
when you
more
look
of
at it,
that.
there's this iridescence on them. And if you look at the GHI
It's like
and the,
GHI out here.
I'll bring the GHI and the Blitz. That'll.
Oh, Blitz! Blitz is one of my new favorite things.
But what's great is what I equate it to is that there seems to be two basic groups, and because it's a sensual thing, I say it's
Sensual.
It's sweet and savory.
Okay.
You know, you have your bright colors,
Yeah.
that are just mind blowing. You know, popping. Somebody posted on the Reptile Report today, like Enchi Inferno. whatever the hell it was. The thing was bright red orange. It blew my mind. But then, you go to your more subtler things, your
You just missed
pewters.
it. Vince was comparing the colors to foods.
Oh,
Surprise,
yeah.
sweet, savory.
Well, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more niche for some of us, okay?
Niche. How douchey does niche sound? This is a GHI. Got to have it. It's kind of a xenopeltic darkening gene. Even though their stomach is dark, it's weird.
Well,
it's
is
like
that in shed too?
it's in shed, but they're kind of this increasing melanin gene. So they start to really darken up, and when you cross them with like Mojaves and stuff, they produce some pretty sick combinations. This one I have with it is a Blitz. It's got a lot of these hook'em horns, and they also have open saddles. So some of the alien heads or hook'em horns kind of open up into these weird little spirals. I'm really excited about this gene. I want to cross it over with Inchy and Banana to see what's going on there. We have a female Blitz right here.
Blitz hasn't been worked with that much, so there's
Yeah,
not a lot of people that are
I think
familiar
it's like a sister, kind of like Mojave Butter and Lesser. I think that the Blitz is actually kind of a sister gene to the Trick. So if you'll see a lot more stuff on Tricks than you will on Blitzes. They do look a little bit different, but I think they're probably the same gene, just from different established bloodlines. So look for those if you want to find out more about them. Give us a call.
I'm not sure if we're ready to say Blitz and Trick are the same just yet, but kind of like, because you have Cinnamon and Black Pastel, which a lot of people thought were the same, and we had to back up and say, oh, wait, it's not the same. So it could be the same. It could be a little bit different. But either way, that Blitz is really an exciting project. And to get to do something that a lot of people haven't worked with, because everybody and their brothers worked with Pied, Albino, Pastel. So to get to play with that Blitz and maybe see some things that people haven't seen is pretty damn cool in my book.
Well, and that's the great thing about just breeding reptiles in general, is that you get to see these things come
here.
Orange Dream.
Come to fruition.
You know what cool is these bananas maybe crossed with the Orange Dream. The problem with bananas, and why I think they should be crossed with Inchies and stuff, is because they tend to fade out as time goes on. So they're really pretty when they're young, but there's some genes you could cross with them. Maybe the Orange Dream or Inchies or Black Pastels that'll keep some of that orange in that banana.
And most genes in ball pythons, just like Dave said, tend to fade. They don't look as good as adults as they do as babies. But there's a couple genes out there that, at least to my eye, seem to improve. Orange Dream is one of them. When we got our first Orange Dream, I was kind of like, okay, it looks like a shitty pastel. And as it's aged and as it's shed, it just gets better and better and better. And now every time I open this tub, I look at that thing, I'm like, damn, that's a good looking snake. And Orange Dream is one that does that. What's the one that tends to look better with age? There's a couple of them.
Well, a lot of your even some
Inchy. Inchy gets better with age.
spiders. I think get better looking.
See, the spider tends to darken. It keeps it really crisp.
Well, but it holds more white on the side.
Some of the yellow belly stuff too.
Yeah.
Yellow belly. Yep. And fire. Fire's another one that a fire tends to brighten with sheds.
With age, yeah.
So like
Things that break down the brown or take the natural brown and kind of pinpoint it. So, like spiders they'll get brown up here. They'll get that deeper brown, but then this white will become more pronounced on the side a little bit.
one thing I like to, I'll bring this close so I can show you. Don't mind the grimace, that's a bad back. Is when you get something like these Orange Dreams, you get that high contrast. It doesn't just bring out the orange, it tends to make that black fairly black and dark. So you get this really cool dark contrast to that lighter color. And I love that contrast in those animals. That's my favorite part of like this particular gene, is seeing that contrast.
Well, for me, ball pythons they're like baseball cards.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually.
They're something that people get into. They're something that people collect.
They're more like Pokemon cards.
Pokemon cards. But you know what? There's something I just missed the freaking boat on.
Vince is on it. Vince is pretty knowledgeable but he's not a big ball python fan.
Well, and
This
it's
is like a topic where he's sitting here having to grind it through. And
it-
most people talk about balls and not the kind of balls you like.
It's not just that. It's just that, what we were talking about with the shows. I love going to shows.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. A lot of your really big guys don't go to shows. A lot of the big breeders, they keep to their sales and they do their things. But there's something like this market appeal that I like about the big expos and stuff. And I just slowly watched. Being able to find the obscure gecko, being able to find people that knew higher, extreme levels of taxonomy. My taxonomic knowledge sucks, but I love to hear guys talk and be excited about things like that. And these guys just got pushed out for guys, breeding their first, clutch of pastels.
And something that I think happens in the reptile market in general is everybody's always looking to the next big thing. So it was corn snakes for a while, and there was a billion different kinds of corn snake, and still is. And corn snakes were the king.
ones now. That palmetto
is
awesome.
Corn snakes then got kind of pushed to the side. They're still there. There's still a lot of corns.
Dude, there's like $3,000, $4,000 corns.
Well,
No kidding.
I'm not. I know, but I'm saying when you go to a show, you see one corn snake every 50 ball pythons. You see.
Yeah.
And ball pythons, it kind of became this king. And now that there's so many people that do ball pythons, which isn't a bad thing if there's a demand for them, and there still is. And I think ball pythons always have a demand because its size, its temperament, and its
Oh
ease of
yeah,
fit.
it's definitely not just the morphology and all that stuff. It's definitely the nature of the snake. They would still be an extremely popular snake if there was nothing different from them other than the wild variety.
You know what's crazy? You always hear people, breeders that have been around the industry forever, they always say something like, I have a feeling these are going to be the next
The
ball
next big
python.
thing, yeah.
The next ball python. The next ball python. I've been hearing that for 20 years. There's never going to be the next ball python. There's never, it's just not going to happen. And there's going to be efforts. There's going to be these cool little things that come in. but
I
they'll
know
be-
personally all too well how red acanthurus monitors were going to be the next bearded dragon. I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And now, but
he bought a bunch of bearded dragons from where?
no, red acanthurus monitors
Oh, yeah, red acanthurus monitors from
from
where?
a very big name person on the West
We
Coast.
can't say, but they all had gonorrhea, tested positive for reptilian gonorrhea at K-State, the KSU vet med, and they were all euthanized and destroyed.
Yeah, they were dead within like 3 days.
So maybe you did have some knowledge to help that caller earlier, huh?
Yeah.
You still some
About
reptile gonorrhea. Yeah.
Reptile gonorrhea, yeah.
But you do hear about the next big thing. The thing I've been hearing latest is blue tongue skinks.
Blue tongues are expanding their morphology a lot.
Yeah, but anything based out of Australia is going to be impossible to develop a diverse enough mutation population in herpetoculture.
Well, I don't
They're
think so.
never going to get that
I
albino out of Australia. That
It's
won't happen.
very slow to grow.
I would disagree with that because the Japanese and Americans get most of their Australian livestock these days via the illegal route out of Australia into Japan, and then from Japan to Germany, and then from Germany to here.
And so it takes a while. And what we're talking about is Australia has closed its borders to animal exportation. So you cannot export an animal out of Australia. It's illegal. Can't do it unless you're smuggling your pants or other places. So you can't just go, oh, that's really cool. I want that over here. And that's where blue tongue skinks are native. So it's going to really slow down the amount of morphs coming out.
Well, but you know what? I've been paying attention to some of those Australian guys that are really into blue tongues, and some of them are amazed when they come over here and see what's being done with them.
Right.
And they're a really interesting animal because they're an animal that can be done simply. They're an animal that can be done similar to a snake. It still does require some outdoor caging to really kind of prime it. Do it prime. Deluxe, but for the most part, a lot of the work done with blue tongues is done in a rack system.
Yeah.
A lot of
And again, size and ease of care, and they have both those things. Size
yeah.
and ease of care.
It's one of those things where I'm kind of.
But it'll never be the next ball python.
Well, we'll see.
Well, the reason I say that, and I can say it with confidence, is it may be the next beardy. It'll never be the next ball python because you got guys that are snake guys, you got guys that are lizard guys.
This is
So
a blue
if you're-
tongue skink.
If you're a snake guy, that's not gonna.
I do believe this is actually an Australian. You have two basic forms of blue tongues. You have your PNGs and you are Indonesians, and you have your actual Australian varieties. I am not keen enough on the morphology to really be able to tell the difference. I think generally a lot of the ones that you'll see, especially imports, are going to be Indonesian. And they're going to be a darker tone to them, bronzier tone. But then I think this lighter tone, my understanding is that this is
Bring me one of those carpets.
a northern,
The carpet.
It's past
a lighter
9.
one.
It's past 9.
It's past 9. It's all right. Bring me a carpet. You got one of those carpets? What's carpet's in that cage?
But what's great about these is that you see how this guy's calmed down here right now.
You just got it.
He, there's two.
There's 2 coastal carpets in the damn cage.
What's great about these guys is you see how he's just chilled out. Now, look at what this animal's doing. This animal's chilled out, and he's not even a pet. This is a store exhibit animal that is in constant levels of contact with other animals. He's in a group display, and he's awesome. And he likes dog food. He likes grub pie. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people can feed these things right out of Walmart. You know, I say you can go right over to the Walmart, go right over to the Kroger or wherever you be, the Dixie Deluxe food
Dixie
line
D.
or whatever, and feed your blue tongue skink. You don't really need pet stores. And it's funny because as somebody who is a proprietor of a reptile specialty pet store, I would love for you to come and buy pinky rats for me to feed to your blue tongue skink. But you know what? It's not really actually the best thing for it. It's not the most appropriate thing.
That grub pie is a good commercial diet. It's a marketable animal.
Well, grub pie, for whatever reason, I've noticed blue tongues go nuts for it. I've had sickly imported Indonesian baby blue tongues, threw some grub pie in front of them, and they're choking it down. You know, it's as a matter of fact, grub pie. Let's pray to the reptile gods that grub pie doesn't turn out to have like crack in it or something, because it's one of the few commercial products I've gotten leopard geckos just to eat sitting there.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
Well, guys, we tried to show you some cool ball python morphs. We didn't even get through a quarter of what we've got. We could do like 5 shows of this ball python morphs. But we've been talking to you for probably about an hour now, and you're probably tired of hearing me. And I know you're tired of hearing Vince. So what we're going to do is we're going to say goodbye. We'll see you next week. If you have a question, make sure to leave us a comment. We'll answer it next week. Or you can always call in. That phone line really is live, I promise. We have some fun with it. But you can actually call us and ask us a question live on the air, and we'll do our best to answer it. So thanks. We'll catch you again next Thursday, 8 p.m.
All right. Well, you know, you got to. All right.
Yeah, we got to say goodbye. Somehow.
Bye.
Bye. I'm just going to exit out, hold it closed.
There we go. Are you going back there?
He goes.
He goes into the iguana cage.
Oh. I need to check on